Hey guys, welcome back to Seller Sessions. Today we bring back Chris McCabe, but he is live from Boost in New Orleans. How you doing?
Always a pleasure, Danny. Thanks for having me back.
No worries. All right, let's have a quick natter about what Boost is. I mean, you have to be under the rock, I suppose, in some cases. But for those who have not been bombarded by emails to say that you should go to Amazon Boost, what is it?
Right.
We know it's in New
New
Orleans.
Orleans.
Yeah.
New Orleans is a big selling point. I think last year it was in New York. I did not go last year because I'm in New York all the time anyway. So
Yeah.
New Orleans adds extra flavor to it. It's a 1 day plus, there's an event tonight, which is Tuesday, the 19th, but it's a good networking opportunity. That's one reason why I'm here. The more of these I attend, sometimes I meet some very valuable Amazon people. I have great conversations with them. They can answer questions for me later, if not at the time.
Yeah.
And then networking with other sellers who have other questions that might come up for my clients in the future. So
Yeah.
it's a good networking opportunity. It's an Amazon invite-only event. And obviously some of it's luck of the draw, depending on who shows up from Amazon and what they can actually tell you, right?
Okay. So let's just talk from Boost from a seller's perspective. I've not been. The
Yep.
people I've spoken to gave me their opinion. This is not my opinion. I've never been there. So from my understanding is that people enjoyed Boost when they went to the one in New York, basically by networking with other Amazon sellers. But
Right.
in their own words, it was pretty useless in terms of communicating with Amazonians on a level to ask questions because they couldn't seem to answer most of these questions. So it's
And
quite
what
interesting.
kinds of questions? Do you have any examples?
I wasn't given any examples, but I'm sure it's probably to do with ranking listings, all those kind of stuff. You might be able to get general FBA questions. But
Yeah.
what I got the impression is that when you go to the Amazon events, obviously everyone's minding their P's and Q's because they're in front of Amazon. So everyone's a bit scared witless about being in TOS, outside of TOS. Is that okay? This okay? But
Right.
what they found was they didn't find people that were very knowledgeable across the board. So for every 5, 6 questions maybe asked, maybe 2, 3 of them, they just simply couldn't answer them. Maybe that's because they're not coming from a seller's point of view. Amazon's a big beast. Everyone has their own departments and they're not expected to know the 360 like an advanced seller would.
Right. Or an advanced consultant. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Exactly.
they're very siloed. They're very segmented. They're never going to have answers to all of I'm going in particular this year for FBA team access and talk to them about some of my FBA questions. And we can get into that in a second, but I don't know in advance necessarily the people who are going to be there or if they will have great answers for me. But usually at least when I talk to Amazonians, they can refer me on to somebody who does have an answer to my question. So it doesn't have to be them in particular. It doesn't have to just be face-to-face on that same day. I mean, that's the way I look at it.
Yeah. I mean, some people may question why you bother going because you're a former Amazonian, but Amazon's so big and there's a high churn rate. You're going to see a new face every time you walk into a room.
I see new faces. I just went to IRCE and I sat down with people from Amazon Pay, for example. I learned a lot about Amazon Pay and I had a couple of clients who had Amazon Pay related problems and they actually got right back to me when I asked the questions later on, like a day or two later. They remembered me, right? They knew my name. I mean, whether or not I'm former Amazon, sure. But I mean, I gave them a business card. I still talk to them as if I hadn't met them before, which I hadn't. I asked them relevant questions. I had questions prepared and it ended up paying off because they got me answers a couple of days later. So this is possible. It just has to be approached the right way.
And do you find as well is that with sellers as well, I know this is about Boost bringing Amazonians together with the sellers, but do they actually give up business cards as well to, the sellers themselves? I know like you're a consultant and blah, 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 but they literally are freely handing out business cards and answering all the questions, or is it only a select few?
I mean, I don't know if every single attendee from Amazon gives out tons of business cards, but I've never had trouble getting business cards from these guys.
Yeah.
But again, I come to them with very succinct questions with a strategy for who I want to talk to, how I want to address certain types of concerns. If they can't answer the question, I don't go on and on about like, well, it's so hard to communicate with Amazon. I eliminate all of that dialogue because we already know all that information and they've heard it 1,000 times and they don't want to hear that. Yeah. They want direct to the point, concise, not hearing the same question over and over from one person because they have limited time.
Yeah.
I think part of the problem that sellers present when they talk to Amazonians in person or even on the phone is that they either go off on tangents, talk about things that aren't related to the work that that person does. And I've talked about this before. Category managers get an earful, right? If they talk to a seller of a hot product in their category, they want to talk about specific things with you. They don't want to talk about how much you hate seller performance. That's the best example I can think of. And neither do the people tomorrow at Boost want to hear that either. Yeah. They don't want to get into long discussions about, well, I emailed those guys and they keep sending me canned responses. I mean, they know that already. They can't really change how those teams operate. Can they interact with that team for you? Maybe. It depends on the person. But stay focused.
What goes on at these events anyway, apart from the obvious networking? Is it presentations and keynotes mainly given by Amazonians or third parties, you know?
Yeah, slideshows, I mean, PowerPoint presentations. I mean, that's not why I'm going necessarily. There might be a couple of little details here and there that I might learn, but that's probably, you're right, that's the weakest part of this is, you know, some of the scripted content, you know, not getting into tons of detail, not getting into key questions like pain points that sellers have with FBA. I'm not there to listen to the FBA presentation necessarily. I'm there to talk to FBA people.
Yeah,
so,
I've got this. Yeah. I've got this vision in my mind is that you'll look at their slides and it's just someone from the support team.
It's reading, like fluff.
Reading from the help pages, just going.
Yeah, I mean, and there is some of that, or maybe there's a lot of that. But if people complain to you that that's what makes it less worthwhile, I mean, that shouldn't be the reason why you go.
No.
Anything in a slide deck, unless it's brand new information, should be something. I mean, most of the time, should be something already in your head, right? Yeah. Unless it's top secret stuff, which they're not going to.
I think we've kind of, you know, we've come.
It'll be fluff.
Yeah, what we crystallized is people are going to go, who can I meet from Amazon and what other sellers can I meet and build relationships with them? I think that's pretty much it. And for someone like you as a consultant as well, it'll be hopefully good for your business because you'll look at new clients or chatting with other sellers and learning from them to help your clients, etc.
I mean, we've talked in the past, here's my big segue, about hijack listings and how this problem is getting worse. People are spending way more time with the catalog teams, with the captive team than they ever wanted to. So the new wrinkle or the new problem is FBA stranded inventory. So I need to talk to FBA people about, hey, lots of people say that their products are showing up as stranded. They can't ship any new inventory in either. And it looks like this is because somebody got to FBA teams and convinced them that the products weren't as described, weren't legitimate, were counterfeit. Even if it's the hijacker who's saying that about the private label branded, you know, trademark branded seller there. But this is just another angle, another attack they're doing is, hey, let's find somebody who will mark this inventory as stranded for us. And then we can sell with impunity. And the other person who's actually the brand owner can't send anything else in or sell.
Yeah.
So question number one right there.
I mean, it seems to be getting crazier now, isn't it? In terms of people finding a new angle each time. Obviously, people were holding your stock back, reporting you to Amazon for infringements. We've had content jacking where they're taking over listing images, etc. It's just
images swapped out.
Endless.
Subtle. Another tip I've discovered: subtle changes to the brand name. Which you wonder, how can they make any change to the brand name? If you're the brand registered seller, how can they change your brand name? They've been managing it by convincing, you know, captive teams or catalog that there's an error, there's a typo, there's a mistake, there's some sort of problem that maybe a technical problem that led to the brand name not being properly spelled. Again, these sound basic and ridiculous, but they are convincing people to make these changes to brand names. And then, of course, their brand name is the one that's referenced, not yours. And it's just a slight tweak on your brand name. Now, if you're not the brand owner, you shouldn't be able to do these things. And I posted a video with my article on my website last week about how are they actually accomplishing this. I mean, some of this you have to have a friend on the inside, and you have to convince them to advocate for you with these captive teams in order to make this stuff happen. So we're still looking into the causality and the, you know, diagnosing some of the background.
Well, the other thing I'd like to quickly talk to you about before you go is this situation with the VAT. I know you don't really cover VAT, but I'm sure that you're going to get people approaching you in terms of possibly in terms of getting rulings overturned, etc.
Mm-hmm.
But I heard about this last week. It was on a Chinese site. I can't remember the name of it now, but we used like Google Translate for it.
Sure.
Basically, Amazon has taken out absolute thousands. I don't know exact, anywhere between 2 to 10,000 accounts, but it's a lot in terms of Chinese companies that are avoiding the VAT thing.
Yeah.
So because like the National Audit Office was saying, like last year, it cost them up to 1.5 billion through tax evasion. And overseas selling goods, which are not being accounted for properly in terms of VAT.
Yeah.
Is there anything you've heard about it? And have you had many Chinese, say, companies approaching you about resolving this?
I had a couple of stray messages about it. I had too much going on to really focus on them. I think I just sent a message back saying, hey, can you clarify this or send me some more information? Because this was fairly recently.
Yeah.
And they didn't respond to those messages. But quite honestly, it's not uncommon for hundreds of accounts that are China-based to be taken out in a single day. I mean, I hear about that all the time. I lost a bunch of accounts, and then when I asked them, how many did you lose? Of course, you know how it works in China. There's some people behind 200, 300, 400 accounts. Yeah. One person, one group. So it's not that unusual for them to lose hundreds. I don't know about thousands.
Yeah.
For this, if a government's chasing Amazon, if they're losing money, if they're going to be, called on the carpet to account for missing funds, unpaid taxes, I mean, Amazon's going to take that very seriously and take whatever action they have to protect themselves, right? If it involves taxes or liability, they jump right on it. I mean, they'll take out.
Well, we've got a guy in the UK. I won't name who he is. He'd rather keep private because of various things. He wants to stay under the radar. But he's been a big leader in this in the UK for UK sellers with the whole VAT thing. Mm-hmm. And he's presented it, and it's been pushed up to our government, and they've put pressure on Amazon. And there was a panorama program just recently, but this is probably one of the biggest steps that we've seen taken. Because quite often is that it runs through like there's a hoop that people are getting through. Maybe it's because they have the asset, they can go and buy up a load of accounts and start trading again. I'm not sure how that's done, but I think what's happening now with the VAT abuse that's been taking place over the last few years, I think finally after 2 years work from this guy and the petitions and stuff that he's doing, it's got so big that MPs are now aware of this, and so I'm imagining there's a lot of politics involved here.
Yeah, I mean, it's comparable to the sales tax issue that was going on and is still going on here, right? In terms of states realize that there's all this inventory coming onto their soil. Are they missing out on some money? Are they missing out on some tax opportunities? It's like anytime money's at stake, and somebody could approach the government and say, why aren't you collecting these funds that you could easily be collecting? All of a sudden, everybody gets interested. Yeah. Especially if there's public knowledge or public complaints about it. So.
Yeah, totally. So it's interesting time to see. We'll see if this adjusts over a period of time. But I mean, it's probably good news. Well, it is good news for UK sellers because they haven't got to worry so much now. Because obviously, if we're talking Chinese only, I'm sure there's other countries that are involved in this kind of thing. Yeah. But that 20% advantage can be crippling.
Of course.
A good business nowadays would, 20% margin is not bad. I know that we talk about FBA sellers and you get all the gurus selling these courses saying they're on 50% margin, but once you take out the cost, it's not really true. And
we can talk about the gurus another time because I'm still yet to see a video that mentions any performance team or policy enforcement type material. Everyone just skips over that conveniently enough. Yeah. So until that day.
Cool. Yeah. Well, look, let's wrap that there. So you're down there for the next few days. Maybe when we see you again, you can give us an update of what took place at down there, and we can have a chat again soon.
I'll do a boost recap, and then I'll also talk about, are these things worth attending? Is it enough to make kind of those personal connections? Are those people flooded with attention and they can't really answer your questions? That sort of thing. I'm happy to follow up. Yeah.
Sounds good. All right, brother. Okay. So best way to reach you.
Yep. ecommercechris.com, of course, is my website. You can email me at chris@ecommercechris.com. And if you want to talk about the membership, it's just ecommercechris.com/membership. We've got a bunch of new people coming into that too. So it's a closed Facebook group, private group, but we answer a lot of questions in there for members who join. So.
Cool. All right, guys, thanks for joining us. Chris, thanks for joining us. If this is your first time, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, and we'll see you again in the next few days. Take care.
Yep, thanks.